Okay, so just wanted to give you a quick overview of the rdsR library that we have. I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything's installed correctly. And I have a couple functions here, and they pretty much just mirror what we have in the API. So the first one's going to be a select. We have documentation here, and we have all the parameters that we could pass to it online as well. So it works the same way. They're going to specify those parameters, and it'll just be used to create the GET request, and then we'll get the data from RDS. So if I go ahead and run the select function, it's going to create a dataset class which contains metadata, data, and info. For this first one, I've just loaded the data and info. That's what we'll look at first. So I looked for variables with respondent, keyword respondent, and so I'm returned a data frame that has these 7 variables in it. So behind the scenes, we're taking the JSON and turning it into a data frame for the R users, which is what they're going to really want in the end. So we have that, and then we also have an info data frame that has all the information about stuff that the query that was run and what's been returned. So we can do that. We have also just this inject method or parameter here that we can use to inject the code values into the data frame. So if I take a look at that, now we have the actual code labels instead of the values, but the values are still held there. So these variables have a factor with 3 levels, yes, no, and not applicable. And then those are applied to the actual data values. So those data values are still stored in the data frame, but we have the code values showing over top of it. And then finally, we have, finally for the select method anyways, we have the metadata. So look at that. This is a class as well. And so it's got the JSON metadata that's been returned, and I've created some methods that will work on this class in particular. So for example, I have this variables method that takes that metadata as an input. And if I run that, I'll get this variables data frame that comes up with all variable information and what users would want to see for the variables. I can also do that for a single variable using the variable ID to specify which variable I want, and that's just going to be a single record data frame that comes up. Now finally, I've got the classifications in here as well, and this is a specific class. So I can call this classifications method on the metadata, and it's going to give me a list of 7 classifications, which are their own class as well. And I can get this a single classification using the classification method with the metadata and then the classification ID, which we're pulling from that variable. So if I get that class, we have an ID, which is just a string, but we also have codes and info. The info is going to be a data frame, same like before. It's going to give us information about the classification that was returned, and then the codes are going to be a data frame that have the value and the labels. Alright, so that's it for the select. The other data function we have is the tabulate, of course. And so we have the ability to specify our dimensions and measures and all the parameters again that we usually do. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. This is also going to return a data set. And I will take a look at the data that gets returned here. I'm using variable v480003 as a dimension and injecting metadata. So if I look at that, we'll see that we have the code values that are showing up for this along with their counts, rather than just the codes. If I didn't use that inject parameter, that would just be the codes themselves. So that's what we can do for the tabulate, and that makes it really easy to create charts and stuff. So let me go ahead and pull up just a quick example of using that to create a chart. So if I'm in this R markdown document, I'm doing that same thing. I'm going to be grabbing dimension variable v480014a, and this would be kind of the first example that does not use the inject. So that's going to create this nice little chart over here. And then if I throw the inject in there, it's going to recreate it with the metadata values in there. So as you can see, very convenient. Most things use this data frame object for charts and pretty much everything in R, so that's why we're going to that data frame with as much as we can. So that's that. Now we also have some functions for just dealing with the metadata alone without any data. So we have the get variable function, which is going to take the base URL, the collection and view IDs, and then also a variable ID. And that's going to give us, again, that single record data frame, which it looks like I might have. Let's see. Well, it looks like it's not working, so I'll have to check that. I probably have an error somewhere in here. I've been redeploying things all day. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's try this guy here. There we go. Well, that variable's metadata works. So same thing, 7 record data frame that comes back with just the variable metadata. And again, same thing for the classifications as well. We can get all the classifications, or we can get the a single classification based on the ID. And this is going to have all those same parameters that we can do online as well. So yeah, that's just a real basic overview, and let me know if you have any comments about it.